Capitalism versus socialism. What actually happened? For more than a century, the world has argued about one question. Not about culture, not about religion, but about how an economy should work. Capitalism promised freedom, innovation, and prosperity. Socialism promised equality, justice, and security. One system trusted markets, the other trusted the state. One believed competition would create progress, the other believed cooperation would create fairness. Both claimed they had discovered the future of human society. But history did something neither system expected. It tested them. Revolutions were fought in their names. Empires collapsed defending them. Entire nations reorganized their economies, trying to prove which system was right. And when the real pressures arrived, war, famine, financial collapse, the results were far more complicated than the theories ever predicted. Welcome to Inside Finance History, where money, power, and history collide, and where nothing is ever as simple as it looks. The story begins long before anyone used the words capitalism or socialism. For most of human history, there was no modern economy at all. There was survival. Kings ruled by divine right, landowners controlled nearly everything, and peasants produced just enough to avoid starvation. Wealth came from three things: land, labor, and war. Productivity barely changed for centuries, and the idea that ordinary people might grow wealthy through innovation or trade would have sounded almost absurd. Human life was essentially a zero-sum game. If someone became richer, someone else almost certainly became poorer. But in the late 1700s, that ancient pattern suddenly broke. The Industrial Revolution transformed the world. Britain became a laboratory of coal, iron, machines, and restless ambition. Factories replaced workshops, machines replaced muscle, and for the first time in history, individuals could invest, risk capital, and own production on a scale previously reserved for kings. Productivity exploded, goods became cheaper, cities grew rapidly, and global trade expanded faster than ever before. But something else expanded with it: inequality. For some people, capitalism meant opportunity. For others, it meant 12-hour factory shifts, child labor, and polluted industrial cities. And inside those dark factory towns, a new idea was born: socialism. In the mid-19th century, Karl Marx looked at industrial capitalism and saw a contradiction. Factories were producing enormous wealth, yet the workers producing that wealth remained poor. To Marx, this was not an accident, it was the system itself. Capitalism, he argued, was built on exploitation. Owners controlled the means of production, workers sold their labor, and the profits flowed upward. His solution was radical. Workers should own the factories. Production should serve society rather than private profit. In theory, socialism promised something capitalism could never guarantee: equality. It sounded logical, it sounded moral, and to millions of industrial workers, it sounded like justice. But theory is one thing, reality is another. The first large-scale attempt to build a socialist economy came in 1917, the Russian Revolution. For the first time in history, an entire country tried to eliminate markets. The state controlled land, factories, banks, resources. Prices were set by planners, production targets replaced profit, private enterprise disappeared. In theory, this system would eliminate inequality and create a rational economy. In practice, it created a different problem: information. Without market prices, planners had no reliable way to know what people wanted or how much to produce. Shortages became common, innovation slowed, and economic efficiency collapsed. The Soviet Union could build rockets, but struggled to produce decent consumer goods. But capitalism was hardly perfect either. In 1929, the global financial system collapsed. The Great Depression followed. Banks failed. Unemployment soared. Entire economies shut down. For millions of people, capitalism suddenly looked unstable, even dangerous. It seemed capable of generating enormous wealth, but also catastrophic collapse. By the 1930s, the world faced an uncomfortable truth. Neither system worked exactly as promised. After World War II, the world became a laboratory. On one side stood the Soviet system: central planning, state ownership, controlled markets.
On the other side stood the Western economies: private enterprise, regulated markets, and social safety nets created after the Great Depression. This was the real experiment, not in theory, but in reality. For decades, both systems competed to prove which one could build the better society. And over time, the results became impossible to ignore. The Soviet Union achieved rapid industrial growth, literacy increased, infrastructure expanded, military power grew. But beneath the surface, the economy was struggling. Innovation slowed, productivity stagnated, and consumer shortages became a normal part of life. By the 1980s, Western economies were dramatically more productive. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, the Cold War ended not with a battlefield victory, but with an economic one. The Soviet system collapsed under the weight of its own rigidity. But capitalism's victory was not the end of the story, because modern economies no longer resemble the pure systems imagined by 19th century thinkers. Look at Scandinavia, market economies with strong social protections. Look at the United States, powerful capitalist innovation alongside rising inequality. Look at China, a hybrid system combining state control with market-driven growth. The truth is almost ironic. Every major economy today is a hybrid, a mixture of markets and government, competition and protection, freedom and control. History did not choose capitalism. History did not choose socialism. History chose adaptation. The systems that survived were the ones willing to change. Because economic history is not just about capitalism or socialism, it is about power. And power, as history shows again and again, never disappears. It only changes hands. We hope the Inside Finance History team has delivered both engaging and thought-provoking insights. Please subscribe to stay informed about our future content.